What's up, ladies and gentlemen, this is Binks. I didn't want to make this video. I don't like talking about leaks or unconfirmed news, and this is not by any means a hype channel. And I don't really like being negative either, and this video isn't meant to be negative for its own sake. But I think in this environment full of hype monsters, it's important to take a skeptical approach to things that we see and read in games media, and to call out irresponsible behavior whenever we see it. I've seen the coverage of this story about the Ubisoft massive Star Wars game, and the totally irresponsible lens through which it's being viewed by the content nerdosphere and the gaming press at large, and I have to talk about it, if for no other reason than to try to pull the brakes on the massive, out-of-control hype train that in the video games industry we all too frequently see drive straight off a cliff. I'm afraid the damage has already been done, but I feel like I have to do my part to combat this blatant misinformation a little bit. So what am I talking about? Some of you may know there are several Star Wars games in development at various studios around the world, and today we're talking about the unnamed game in development at Massive Entertainment, a Ubisoft studio. The announcement of this game was very short on details. We were told in the announcement that the game was story-driven, open world, set in the Star Wars galaxy, and in development at Massive Entertainment. We also know it's using the Snowdrop engine. And that's it. They dropped those details, and then they went radio silent, and we haven't really heard anything since. Enter this article from Insider Gaming, which is without a doubt the most insubstantial and spurious piece of video game-related journalism I've read this year. The blatant misinformation surrounding this game started with this article and spread around the internet to other journalistic outlets who repeated the claims without any evidence or substantiation. The information further made its way into pieces from independent content creators who likewise had no reason to believe that any of this information was true, other than that they read it on the internet, but they repeated the information anyways. So I want to take a few minutes today, look at this article with you, talk about why it's probably bullshit, and hopefully destroy some of the hype that might have been stacked too high by the irresponsible games press. The focal point of the article is ostensibly a tweet from the game director, Julian Garrity, but that's not really the problem with the article, so we'll get to that in a minute. Before they talk about the tweet, this writer for Insider Gaming penned a couple of paragraphs that are really the whole problem. They write, quote, "From what we know, the Ubisoft Star Wars game will boast a fully open, seamless universe akin to that found in No Man's Sky. In the game, players will be able to jump between systems, immersing themselves in a vast galaxy bursting at the seams with activities. At the heart of the game sits an in-depth, lengthy story driven by a fully customizable character that walks a path chosen by the gamer themselves. There are decades worth of lore, locations, weapons, and characters for Ubisoft and Massive Entertainment to draw from, so the game itself should be something special. It may even rival Starfield, which is due to launch in 2023. End quote. I know, it sounds pretty exciting, right? I was excited too when I first heard about it. And then I looked past Twitter, and I went to the article, and I read it. And it was missing a few words that I usually look for, like source. I know the name of the website is Insider Gaming, but my assumption is that not every word they print is insider information. But they wouldn't just write bullshit and pass it off as insider information without at least saying they have a credible source for that information, right? So let's go through the problem statements in order. The game will boast a fully open, seamless universe akin to that found in No Man's Sky. Now, it's important for me to say that I don't have any insider information on this game, so I don't know whether this is true or untrue. I wouldn't be particularly surprised if it was true. That sort of feature isn't that outlandish anymore. Star Citizen and Elite Dangerous have seamless universes. No Man's Sky has a seamless universe. Starfield looks to have a seamless universe. The technology for this in video games clearly exists, so there's no reason that this game couldn't have a seamless universe. However, the only information that we've gotten to date is that the game is open world, and the idea that the game boasts a fully open, seamless universe like No Man's Sky is not corroborated by anyone, nor is there any citation within this article that provides evidence to that effect. Players will be able to jump between systems, immersing themselves in a vast galaxy bursting at the seams with activities. It bears mentioning that being able to jump between systems potentially contradicts the idea of a seamless universe. If you can only jump between systems and not to the space between, it's not really seamless, but since I suspect this line is just as fabricated and arbitrary as everything else in this article, I won't waste any more time talking about it. As for whether the galaxy is bursting at the seams with activities, let's remember that this is a Ubisoft game, and therefore let's try to understand what that, in a worst-case scenario, means. At the heart of the game sits an in-depth, lengthy story driven by a fully customizable character that walks a path chosen by the gamer themselves. Once again, this seems to be the writer taking information that we know, that the game is story-driven, and elaborating to get more words out of it. In this case, by elaborating, what I probably mean is making shit up. We've had no credible leaks or official news as far as I know about the length or depth of the story, or that the player character will be fully customizable, or that the game features RPG-like branching narrative choices, which I can only imagine is what is meant by walking the path chosen by the player. It's possible to have a story-driven game that features no narrative choices at all, God of War, The Last of Us, or Jedi Fallen Order being some obvious examples. Once again, there's no evidence provided for this claim, and the only corroboration I can find for it is from articles that either cite the Insider Gaming article or articles and videos that fail to cite it but came out after it was published, and therefore those can't be trusted or relied upon for accuracy. It may even rival Starfield, which is due to launch in 2023. I'm sorry, did anyone think that these two games were going to be similar? Does a story-driven Ubisoft game sound like a Bethesda game? Does anyone even know if Starfield's going to be good? Under which criteria is the writer comparing these two games and suggesting that one might rival the other? This statement is meaningless on top of being bullshit, meant only to connect this article to Starfield Google search results and potentially build hype for the topic the article is written about. The article then goes on to imply that the game director Julian Garrity may have confirmed that more news about the game is coming this year and embedded a tweet that they say implies as much. What they failed to embed was Julian Garrity's reply to his own tweet, which I will show you now. Quote, "This seems to have sparked quite some interest. To be clear, I meant that 2023 will be huge for our teams building our game, which you could be a part of. For official news, keep an eye on @Ubisoft." The inclusion of the first tweet and the exclusion of the second seems to be an attempt to imply that we're getting more news about the game this year, which isn't what was said. I've even seen some people guessing that this game might release in 2023 as a result of this statement in the article, which is ridiculous because we already know of a game that Massive is supposed to be releasing this year, and that's Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. This game's been in development for a while. It was supposed to release in 2022, but was pushed back to 23 or 24. I would expect to see the Avatar game long before the Star Wars game. I think people expected to start seeing a flood of new Star Wars games the moment EA's exclusive license expired, and this is definitely wishful thinking. That just isn't how video game projects work. This article is a complete nothing burger, which accomplishes the common goal of writing a couple pages to run ads on without actually saying anything. Proof that you can fart in a jar and call it a leak, and the YouTube and gaming media will stick their noses straight into the jar, breathe it back into your face, and call it content. In their desperation to find anything to talk about, the media landscape that covers video games and Star Wars have lied to you. The truth is that Ubisoft Massive is making a Star Wars game that is open world and story-driven using the Snowdrop engine. As of today, anyone who tells you anything additional or different is probably lying to you. And if I'm lying to you, it's because Ubisoft gave us the wrong information. The problems with this article seemed readily apparent to me, but that didn't stop it from gaining traction literally everywhere, to the point that now when you try to find accurate information about this game direct from the source, the developer and publisher, you're bombarded by search results and tweets and videos packed with misinformation. Every single one of these articles should be retracted, but that's not going to happen. I think we're just dealing with a public perception now that's been irrevocably distorted with regard to what to expect from this game. To be honest, the people I feel worst for in this scenario are the developers at Ubisoft Massive. It's hard enough to live up to fan expectations on a massive project like this when expectations are based in reality and built upon things in the game that actually exist. Reports like this one from Insider Gaming kneecap the game before we've seen a single frame of gameplay by giving you expectations that have no basis in fact, and when we finally do see the game, you'll likely be disappointed if it doesn't live up to the ideas that you had based on unsubstantiated reports with no evidence. I suspect the devs are hoping, and I really kind of hope as well, that people forget about all of this long before the game is ever shown so that they're not buried under the weight of the unrealistic hype train. But I think that might be too much to ask for. People have long memories, and nothing on the internet ever goes away. So I can already see the retrospective pieces being written 3-5 years after this game releases about how Ubisoft Massive let us down by failing to live up to the promises that they never made. If the report about the volume of Star Wars games that Disney wants in the coming years is accurate, there's going to be a lot to talk about. Although considering the source for that information was also Insider Gaming, maybe not. As these years go by, it'll be important to remember that this industry has a track record of flat out lying to you to get you excited enough to buy something sight unseen, and that YouTubers and games journalists have a financial incentive to tell you anything they think you'll click on, and the truth does not enter that calculus. There's nothing wrong with liking a setting like Star Wars, or being excited for the idea of games that let you explore the world that we love. But please don't allow your love for the brand to cause you to absorb any and all information about these games completely uncritically. As I've demonstrated, there are actors in this space who will say absolutely anything if it fills ad space, and leaks and news, even from presumably trustworthy sources, needs to be analyzed with a skeptical, critical mind now more than ever. Claims which are presented without evidence should be dismissed without evidence. I hope Massive delivers us something truly incredible, but I know nothing about what they're working on, and neither does anyone else. Thanks very much for watching. Please like the video if you like it, dislike it if you disliked it, and tell me what you think about Insider Gaming and the article about Massive Star Wars game. If you enjoyed my perspective, please follow me on Twitter for more hot takes, join the Discord for movie nights, and check out my Twitch channel where you can find me speedrunning Star Wars games every Thursday. Goodbye, my friends, and may the Force be with you.